American business heroes, or should I say, future American business heroes. What are the two things that you need to know before you get into small business or consider being an entrepreneur? Let's get right into it. So if you're considering being a small business owner or an entrepreneur, I would have to say there are two roads that you could travel to get there. One leads you to be a master, and another one leads you to be a slave. And obviously the better road to go down would be that of a master. In a very basic sense, if you're a master, you're the one in charge and you're the one that calls the shots. You also have a small staff to help you get things done. And you compartmentalize all the work that needs to be done in your business and you assign that to either yourself or your staff. Now you may be thinking, well, wait a minute, if I'm just starting, I'm not going to have a staff, obviously. That's true, but you still have to break things into compartments so you understand there are many things that need to be done in a small business to cover all the bases. Then as you grow, you add staff. Now, if you end up going down the road of the slave, then you're tied to your business 24/7. And let me tell you, you really have to love it to be tied to it that closely. And I don't mean that you don't care about it or that you step away from it. I don't mean that at all. But rather, every minute, every day that it's open, you have to be there. You're the only one that's doing all the work. It's going to get old, and it's going to get old fast. And basically that means that if you're not doing it, it doesn't get done. So while, yes, you might have to start off that way, you're the only one that's starting the business, you have no help, you have no backup. But again, you want to push towards growing your business so you can hire on additional staff and start divvying up responsibilities. Because if you try to do it all yourself forevermore, you're going to get burned out. Well, if you look at a day in the life of a business owner, an entrepreneur, I have to say there are good days and there are bad days. That's no surprise, right? You get a series of ups and you get a series of downs. Sometimes they're expected, but then again, sometimes they just come out of the blue and you have this huge problem that you have to deal with. And a whole lot about being a business owner is that you have to solve problems on the run, on the fly. And you have to be extremely good with situational awareness to know what's going on. What do you need to handle? What do you need to let go for the minute and just handle it on another time? So is it worth it or not? Well, you have to think about your personality type and what responsibilities, what might say headaches that you're okay taking on. Because again, you're going to be the one that's in charge even if you have a staff. You're the buck stops here person. So everything is your responsibility in the end. So you have to have an understanding that you're responsible for everything. One of the greatest misunderstandings about business owners, there's an idea that they're all rich, and really that's not the case, especially if you're just getting started. The money doesn't pour in. I know from a personal experience, people are surprised at how many expenses and level of expenses that you have as a business owner. I've had conversations before with people to say, well, our electric bill at the store down there runs $6,000 a month. And then on top of that, we have a gas bill. It's another $3,000 a month. And I've had people say, no, there's no way. There's no way that you're paying that much in electricity or gas. And, so surprisingly, I just said, well, I'll tell you what, Monday morning, I'll be at the office at 9 o'clock. Come on by. I'll pull the invoices out and I'll show you. I've never had anybody take me up on that. But it's true. A lot of times people don't understand the level of the expenses. Payroll, oh my gosh. Yeah, payroll. You're covering a payroll that's, on one business that's over $120,000 every 2 weeks. Covering another payroll on another business is $35,000 every 2 weeks. And people just don't have a concept that the levels are that high. They see the income. And a lot of times, too, you see this with staff. They see all the money coming into the business. If they're standing there taking the cash, putting it in the cash register, they see all that. But they don't see the other end of it where the cash is going out to pay all the expenses. So that can be quite surprising. quite eye-opening for people. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And if you have questions about being a small business owner, leave them in the comments below and I'll be glad to answer them for you. Thanks. But as a business owner, you do make a commitment to the business, to your staff, but you also make a commitment to freedom. And what I mean by that is a business owner gets freedom if you're working your position correctly. A lot of times business owners can be seen as risk takers, and I think that's a very accurate statement. You really do have to take risk. You're stepping out and you're going to try something that you haven't done before possibly, or that nobody else around you wants to do, and you just jump in with both feet and go for it. So you have to have the stomach for it, and then also you have to be concerned about cash flow problems. Sometimes you have to make decisions and adjust things in order to have enough cash flow for your business, because if you don't, that's a killer. Then there's also the legalities of the business. You have to make sure that you're covering all your bases there. It's always a great thing to get in touch with an attorney that knows small business and talk to them about it. On the rewards side, there are rewards that come with being in small business. Big risk can equal big reward. There are personal sacrifices that come with being a business owner. It just goes with the game, it just goes with the course. So you can have a lack of family time because you're tied into your business and you're spending a lot of time there. You can miss out on vacations. I know that over the years, I've asked my own kids, are you okay that we don't take very many vacations? And they all said, yeah, we're fine with that, we understand. But it's something that you have to talk to your family about, because being in business sometimes means that you have to skip a year, or 5 or 10. Another thing to be aware of, if there's something that absolutely has to be done at a given time, you may have to drop things and go do that. Or you may even have to get out of bed at night and go do that. If you have a 24/7 business that's always open, maybe there's a little emergency that comes up and you just have to jump out of bed and go. Also, you have to think about, are you in the area that you serve? In other words, do you live amongst your customers? And if that's the case, there has to be a level of comfort for people to reach out to you and talk to you, because they will. They'll come up to you and they'll ask you things about business. They'll call you on the phone. They may even stop by your house. So you have to be okay with being accessible to your customer base all the time. You may go to church with them. You may go to the local restaurant and they're there, or the bar, they're there. So you have to be okay with being on, we'll say, all the time. And like I said, you're always on call. You always have to be aware of what's going on, that you may be taken away from something that you want to do to cover something in your business. You also have to think about the fact that, well, when are you going to work? Do you work the weekends? Do you work the weekdays? Do you work nights? So depending on what business that you're in and the times that you're open, you may have to work odd times that you normally don't want to work to cover things. And the things I'm talking about is you may have to cover your staff. If somebody doesn't show up, if somebody's sick, you may have to go and handle that shift. Something about being in small business that you need to be aware of, you have to be able to handle the stress, because it can mount up. You may be going along and everything's fine, and you have problem number 1 that comes, then problem number 2, and then problem number 3. And they're mounting and the stress is just going up and up. You have to have a calm, collected attitude and personality so that you don't blow up on people and you don't blow up when situations occur, but rather you just step in and you handle one problem at a time. You prioritize those problems. What's the most important one? You handle that first and then you go on. And I would say that the number one reason that people don't get into business, or the number one reason that they get out of business, really has to do with stress. Well, let's talk about it. Is it worth being a small business owner, being an entrepreneur? Well, if you're in a situation where the things I brought up to your attention don't scare you to death and you're very excited about that, then I would say yes, it's a wonderful thing to do. It's all I've really ever known. It's all I've ever grown up with was being in business. Myself, my mom, my dad, my grandparents. That's all that I've ever known. But you have to look at the items that are listed in this video that we talked about already and be comfortable with those items. And if you're comfortable with that and you're a go-getter, then definitely sign up for it. I highly recommend it. So what are the two things that you need to know before being a small business owner or an entrepreneur? Well, number one, it has to deal with freedom. If you're a small business owner and you're doing things properly, you're buying your own freedom. You're free to do what you want on a daily basis. Now, you have to be responsible. You can't just go on and do everything that you want to do on a daily basis. It would be like going to a candy store and only eating candy or chips or ice cream. You can't do that on a daily basis. So yes, you do get to choose what you get to do on a daily basis, but the things that you have to choose from may not be that fun for that day. But you are making your own decisions, so if it works, it's on your back. If it doesn't work, it's on your back. That's just the way it is. The second thing that you need to know, if you're considering being a small business owner, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not anything at all that you can get into and try it for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months. You have to get in for the long haul and commit to that. And if you realize it's a marathon, you'll win the marathon.